What's going on, everybody? LK here, back at it again with another video, and today some more Dragon Ball FighterZ feel. So today, I felt like I've been hearing a lot about defense in Dragon Ball and the mixed opinions about it. Like, is it good? Is it not good? And I wanted to revisit this. Of course, I've talked about this on my channel a bunch of times, but I feel like recently, especially like probably since the beginning of the year, I've mostly been giving out tips, like advice on defense, and not actually talking about defense in the game in general. So I figure, why not revisit that today? If you like this video or any of the other videos I put out, please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It does help the channel grow and I would appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much. Alright, so let's hop right into this one. So the general consensus amongst high-level players of the game is that defense is really strong in Dragon Ball FighterZ compared to other games. They were quite careful with making sure that things aren't too good, and usually a lot of the strong offensive strategies in this game get nerfed. Things like Gotenks Adult Gohan Yamcha, Snap Loops in Season 2, a lot of the initially strong level 3s like Bardock's old level 3 is a really good example of this. Gotenks also, his old level 3s to get an unseeable high-low. They have either weakened these or have made changes to make it so that you can't do these things. That being said, the game does give the impression that it is hard to defend. There's a lot to look for, especially if you're a new player of the game. You have to remember too, this game is mostly geared towards new players, but a lot of the things they do are both like really direct, things like Super Dash, but also really subtle, like how they treat defense. So first, let's look at the type of defensive situations in the game. There are 4 main ones. So first, let's look at the type of defensive situations they have in the game. There are 4. 1 is blocking. 2 is knockdown and all the various types of knockdowns, so your soft knockdowns and your hard knockdowns, sliding, right? 3 is your level 3s. And 4 is your snaps. So let's start with blocking. So blocking, you know, you're pretty familiar with it. It's when someone's rushing you down, doing pressure, calling all sorts of stuff, trying to open you up with all sorts of things. So in previous versions of the game and now, the main thing you have to consider when you're blocking is that most of the stuff your opponent can do to you is not that scary. It's the most important thing. It's one of the most important things about the game in general. Whether or not they have something scary that they could do is really character dependent, and it should make you think a lot about what characters you pick and why you pick them. So for instance, take SSJ Goku. So he was one of the most popular anchors in Season 2. Now the thing that's good about him is that he is really good at controlling space. He's hard to catch. He does a lot of damage. He has all the core neutral tools you need. He has a downwards angle beam, an actual beam, you know, auto combo that jails in itself, etc, right? Like, he has a lot of strong tools, but the one thing he really struggled at alone is opening you up without relying on system mechanics. So what do I mean? He does not have a command grab. The only real ways he could open you up is with Dragon Rush, 6M, and tricking you into thinking he's going to Dragon Rush. Of course, if he level 3s you know, he had, I don't know if he still has them, but he had like tricks to like hit you and stuff. But for the most part, you have to kind of try to get hit by SSJ Goku. Now, because people are not that great against Dragon Rush, they would get hit by him, and getting hit by this 2M means death. But once you get to the point where you understand that he's not scary, you can just sit there until you see something that's more guaranteed to take your turn. Like either a special move like this, or he does a key blast and he tries to like rock paper scissors you in there, something like that. This is a very common theme across the cast. There are not a lot of characters who are extremely scary alone, and you also have to consider that depending on the assist you have available, you also might not have anything to worry about. So in this case, it's SSJ Goku Adult Gohan. We'll do it like Season 3, so there's not really a way that he could hit you reliably. He can use Gohan to try to like cross you up and stuff like that, but these things are all quite reactable if you're patient. He could try to 6M, but again, these are pretty slow. So just being cool and seeing what your character, your opponent's character has and what assist they have available will really help you out in this spot. So next we have knockdown to talk about. So knockdown is a little bit scarier because you have much more advantage to work with. So in the case of what we kind of mentioned before, where you know, for the most part, things don't have that much advantage. It's hard for characters to like get advantage. Yeah, they have assists. They would need the right assists, right? And for the most part, characters are not that scary alone, and these characters also may not necessarily be scary with an assist. Next, we talk about knockdown. Knockdown, you get way more advantage to work with. So it is scarier, but for the most part, it's only scary when the opponent's back is to the wall. Mid-screen, it is very difficult to cover all the slide knockdown techs without an assist, and even then, it could still get pretty tough. To the point that you will definitely see like strong players, higher level players, get a knockdown and then they run away in neutral instead of going over there to chase, because you have a lot of options on both your soft knockdowns and slide knockdowns. So as a review, on soft knockdown, you get, this is the neutral tech, you backflip. This is the in-place tech, done by holding forward. You just get up in place. This is the delay down tech, where you just lie down like that. This, of course, you can vary your timing to get up when you want. We will revisit that in a little bit. This is your up tech. You backflip up into the air. This is the only fighting game I've ever seen where you can go from the ground and flip up into the air and be invincible. And then on top of that, you have the delay in place tech that you can do. Like this. You do this by holding down and then holding forward. You do delay neutral by holding down and then letting go of the stick. You could do delay up by holding down and holding up. They made it much easier. In season 1, it was very difficult to do. In later seasons, they made it much easier. And again, you could just hold down forever, like this. The variable timing is 30 frames, so you can literally change by, you know, 1 frame, 2 frame, however you feel like, to the point where you can see what the opponent's doing. Yes, you give them more frame advantage, but you also kind of protect yourself from setups if you do it this way. Sliding knockdown is a little bit more limited. You have your neutral tech by doing nothing, your in place by holding forward, your up tech by holding up, and your variable delay down tech by holding down. The only difference is you can't do the delay flips like you can with soft knockdowns, which does matter because it's easier to control this situation, but you don't have like total control. You usually need an assist. Not all characters need an assist, but most characters do. So generally in the corner, when you slide knockdown and soft knockdown, you have much more control over the situation because they can't go anywhere. The corner just keeps them there. But mid-screen, if you pick the wrong thing or you don't do the thing the right way, they will get very far away from you depending on what they pick and how they try to escape. So it is definitely possible to slip out, especially if they don't have an assist available. So next we have level 3. So this is a knockdown that you cannot change your timing. But one thing that they did is that they like putting characters very far away, like full screen like this. SJ Goku did not used to do this. It used to be more like here. So in earlier seasons, there were cases where characters would be airborne and they could keep on doing offense like Go Tanks, or you would be much closer after level 3. In this version of the game, someone like Base Vegeta has something much more resembling season 1 level 3, where the opponent falls pretty close to you, relatively close to you, and you get to do like a high-low left-right type of thing. They mostly took this out of the game, or they made it much harder to do for characters. So what this does is that even if you actually get, like, let's say a high-low 50-50 here in a situation like this, it makes it so that at least it is the standard dual layer type of mix-up that Dragon Ball FighterZ really likes. Dragon Ball FighterZ really likes mix-ups where, yes, it's a 50-50, but the opponent can do something besides guessing the 50-50, so that the attacker has to consider it. So it's like both players have a 50-50 they kind of have to worry about. So in the case of someone like Base Vegeta, usually the question is, do I think they're going to reflect? Yes or no, that's 50-50 number 1. And if you don't, then there's the high-low off this, or off float, Super Jump IID float, which would be the high-low 50-50. And the last one is snap. So in season 2, This was the opponent comes in, you force him down into all sorts of mix-ups, either using your assist to set up IID fuzzies, doing universal fuzzies, pulling them out of the corner barely, and doing 4-way mix-ups. The trade-off is you're adding an extra hit to kill the character, but you get an absolutely basically guaranteed mix-up. Very characters could really slip out, and in a lot of cases, people would often choose to spark to protect their characters and their teams, and potentially reverse the situation with the damage boost and meter gain boost that you would get from sparking. So the downside though is that in Season 3 they have changed it so that you can come out basically whenever you want. So where this would be the old timing, we are very familiar with this. Now I can make it so like I can kind of just come in here, or I can come in right away, etc. Okay, so now that we talked about the defensive situations that exist in the game, let's talk about what the game gives you. So the reason why I wanted to talk about what defensive situations the game puts you in first is because it'll make it easier to understand why the defensive options the game gives you makes the defender strong in these situations. So the classic one would be Reflect. This is everyone's favorite, right? I wish there was a push block in this game mechanic, right? So Reflect, if you don't know, it pushes them away pretty far. Usually, almost always, there are very, very, very few exceptions of moves that are plus on Reflect. And this, I'm talking about the point character, not assist. Obviously assist, the point character would be advantageous almost all the time, but it's extremely rare for characters to have advantage on Reflects. You are almost always minus. And as shown before, you can punish things that you can't normally punish with Reflect. So in this example here, I am punishing because I am recovering faster. Generally, Reflect recovers faster than just blocking, so you're usually able to move or counter with an attack, among a lot of things. So you also have Guard Cancel as an option. Guard Cancel is a little tricky to learn how to use, but once you do, it is something that's quite difficult to deal with. So the way you want to Guard Cancel is you're aiming to hit the startup of moves, not aiming to Guard Cancel moves, if that makes sense. If you aim for the startup, you will be much more consistent with hitting people with Guard Cancel, to the point that since the Guard Cancel animation is totally invincible, in prior versions of Dragon Ball FighterZ you could hit people, especially Season 1. In Season 2 they made this change, but you could hit people out of Guard Cancel sometimes, so it made certain offensive structures really strong, because you got a 50-50 high-low and you could hit Guard Cancel at the same time. In this version you either have to block it outright, or hit it with a head involved, generally like 2H or like a DP or something like that. So why do you want to aim for guard canceling to start up moves and not guard canceling moves? So here's an example. Adult Gohan doing this string. This string is airtight, right? I'm trying to jump. Okay, I'm trying to mash. Can't mash, okay? So in this example, I will try to freak out. Oh my god, Adult Gohan is on me. So what do? I will guard cancel his 2L, but he blocked. Now I'm going to die. But if I guard cancel properly, like this, aiming for the startup, I will hit that 2M 100% of the time. Now you also have guard cancel options as well. For example, Ki Blast moves activate a state we call the guard cancel state. The game calls it this too. So when you block a Ki Blast, you can do Super Dash, you could do Reflect, out of block stun, you could do Super Dash as I said before. You also have guard cancel sparking no matter what, like whatever. So while you could be baited, of course, like here you see my Reflect is not working, I'm gonna get punished. It's again another one of those dual layered things, like are they going to do it, are they not going to do it, built right into solo characters' pressure. So we have to consider also tag. So tag isn't actually a defensive mechanic, but combined with other defensive mechanics, it turns into a very strong one. And another benefit is that you swap characters, so the character that was getting hit starts to regain life. Tag is functionally a Super Dash on block. So if you block it, you also don't get anything. Like, you don't get to punish them. It's just practically zero. So it is a really strong tool you have to really look out for. And of course, while there are ways you can cover, reflect, and tag at the same time and keep your offense and stuff like that, it's usually in really structured situations. It's something you have to pay attention to a lot, and the game doesn't really tell you when your opponent is going to tag besides when you hit them. So you also have sparking and guard cancel sparking to worry about. In Season 2, they made it so that if you block a move, you can activate spark in the block stun of the move. Now, as we know, there's level 1, level 2, level 3 spark for whether you have your whole team, 2 characters, or 1 character left. Sparking is a really huge opportunity. It's probably one of the most easy to understand defensive mechanics and what it does. You do more damage, you have way more offensive options, your super dash changes, things become air dash cancelable, so where characters would not get mix-ups before, you would get them now. An easy example would be something like this. Right? This is only possible during sparking. You can't do air dash cancels unless you're in sparking. Of course, you're going to do mad damage, 20% more actually, and build a lot more meter. So you have the opportunity to kill faster, especially if you are doing it from a defensive position, which is pretty common. If someone is, especially in like a tournament set, if you see somebody kind of steamrolling the first character, it's pretty common that the defender will spark and try to turn it around as fast as possible and hopefully get their opponent to use spark as well. So you might think this is well and good. This is basically what you have unless you have something like a DP or a 4-frame reversal, right? You might think it doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually does do a lot to offense and defensive interactions. So in the first place, let's take SSJ Goku again. Again, when we talked about it, he's not very scary alone. He's not really good at opening you up without relying on system mechanic stuff. And you can really train yourself to defend basically everything he does. There's only like one real thing he could do to open you up, really, which is the TK beam same side. So looking at this string, right? Here he's -5. If I reflect, I get a punish. In base Vegeta's case, this is a big punish if you have that combo. They could die from that combo starter. So similarly, let's look at the reflect interaction, right? So I could do this. Okay. This is all well and good, but technically, I could mash. Okay. So you could try to frame trap, right? Something like this. But if you do this, I'll reflect you, and now I could punish you. Okay, so you could try to like stagger a little bit, slide in a key blast, and then try to dash every take your turn because you establish yourself with big delays and stuff like that. And I could pick to super dash at you and get like whatever type of combo I want. Now immediately it might look like the attacker is favorable, but you have to look at the design of the characters as a whole. So this is not just for SSJ Goku, but for most characters, basically all these moves are minus on block. This is like -3, this is -3, this is minus, this is minus, this is minus, everything's minus, right? So the game compensates by letting you delay cancel a lot, which does help the attacker, but if you don't have an assist, again, it's generally the defender's favorite. You could sit there, you could really react to everything. You can just play patient and wait and play calm and take your turn. On top of that, the mechanics that they give you to deal with these offensive things like super dash, like reflect, all lead into full combos if you're correct, and the damage in this game is pretty high. You can die in mostly 2 touches. One good reflect, especially from a good character like base Vegeta, for example, getting hit by this into spark is death. Getting hit by reflect into kick from like Team Gohan is also death. So even though you are attacking, you have to be quite present of the defending players' options to make sure that they don't turn it around, because if they turn it around, it's a huge advantage. So it's not other games where, yeah, the attacker, the attacker's gonna get big return from being right, but the defender probably won't get anything too huge. In this game, it is way worse. You're going to get side swapped, and you're gonna get hit by level 3, and now all of a sudden, just because you were wrong one time, you took like 50%, and now you're taking a 50-50, where you have to deal with this dual layer thing. If we're talking about offense as well, the game has made a very important change in that you cannot get your assist back from staggering, from repeating pressure. Because one of the ways that people got around this is by picking characters that had really good ways of repeating their pressure. Characters like Kid Buu and Adult Gohan are really good at this. Adult Gohan has really good frame data, and he has really big buttons. He has good ways of moving in and out with like 2S and stuff. But now, no matter what, in Season 2, this would give me my assist back, right? Now, the only way my assist will come back is, and I'll do it right here, is if the opponent has enough time to tag, essentially. That's when the assists start coming back. So you have to either leave a really, really huge gap for the defender to do something, or basically just peel off to get your assist back, or outright hit them and then DHC or something like that. This leads us into talking about knockdowns as well. So the other big thing that the game does, besides of course the way the defensive options work and your return off them, is the variable timing. So when you get hit by this, you have multiple ways you can tech. You have in place, back, up, down, which is variable. The variability is important. And then delay in place, delay back, delay up. So you have 7 ways of getting up. Generally, actually, in most fighting games that have delay down techs, there are usually a couple of things they could do that it makes it a little bit easier for the attacker to keep their turn. Because you have to remember, when you get a hit as an attacker, that's something you generally earn. No matter how like annoyed you might feel by the character who did it or whatever, or how your opponent did it, that's generally a hit that they earned, right? Like they hit you, so they're going to get an advantageous situation. Devs kind of understand that it can quickly spiral out of control, so a lot of games at this point have either delayed down techs, or like they have different types of knockdowns in different situations. Granblue is a good example of this, SF5 is a good example of this, BlazBlue is a good example of this. A lot of games have stuff like this. But the general way is that either there's just your normal tech, and then there's just one delay tech timing, right? This is seen in like SF4, for example, or you can delay down tech with a variable timing, but after a certain amount of frames, you can be hit. Dragon Ball does neither. So when you hit somebody and knock them down, of course soft knockdown is a little bit more of an extreme example. Sliding knockdown is a little bit better because you can cover everything. You have to consider not just the techs themselves, and the defending options that follow, because reflect is also frame 1, which is really key, right? So as long as there's a gap, you can do it. But you also have to worry about the variable delay down as well, to the point where that generally the main way people deal with this is to option select a backstep into their safe jump so that they're not directly next to the opponent who's lying down there. So that was a lot to get to this point. You know, the game gives you very strong defensive tools, both when you're blocking and when you're knocked down. And they made snap weaker because I think they realized just no matter what they do, besides the variable timing on snap, people will find a way to snap anyway. That's basically what happened in Season 2. In Season 2, they basically came at Piccolo. They changed the meter gain after you spend meter on level 1 and stuff, so that there's a meter penalty, so that Piccolo couldn't go super ham with Hell Zone Grenade. But not only did people find a way to avoid that pretty quickly, but it got to the point where people just started snapping a lot again, just like in Season 1. If you don't feel like the game's defense is strong, I recommend you, again, review this video again and start seeing how to take advantage of the game's defensive systems. The main things, and of course these are kind of risks, but it's risk in both ways, because the main thing you have to remember is that generally when you knock somebody down in other games, the defender does not have that much power over what they do compared to this game, and the return is really high if the defender is correct. So people try really hard to either get level 3 knockdowns or just control the situation, but it's pretty tough. If you get good at varying your defensive selections, so for example getting knocked down, like you shouldn't always pick delay down, but it's pretty good, for example, to delay down and up tech in mid screen, because if you up tech you go really far away, and if you delay down because they try to, let's say, meaty you with an IID jump heavy, they will go over you. So take this with Kid Buu, right? So this is a really simple example of what this would look like. So here's a safe jump. Many of you guys have stuff like this. That's a safe jump on back tech, which I can, of course, push him away with reflect, and he's very far. Plus, he has an advantage because he did a jump in, but he's very far. He can't really do anything with it. Here is my up tech, right? So here he hits me too. Big advantage for him. Or I could delay down tech and then just get out of there. Okay, hopefully that all made sense to you guys. Again, the big thing about this game is the return you can get on defensive situations compared to other games. Especially if things like tag, combining it with the knockdown system and reflect, makes it so that defense is just really, really, really strong in this game in general. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.